Hi folks, I'm Matthew from Jolly Good Media. We get asked a lot, why don't I just design my own website on Wix or Squarespace or GoDaddy or any of the drag and drop website builders that are out there for relatively cheap? And the answer is that sometimes that is the best option for you. There's a lot of people that would really benefit from these services. In fact, we don't really see them as competition even though we design websites. If anything, they are very, very good at filtering out the people who wouldn't be as well suited to our services. So what I've tried to do with this video is pull together some of the reasons that you might want to go for these services and some of the reasons that you might want to consult a professional web designer like us at Jolly Good Media. Now, the first thing to consider with Wix, Squarespace, or any of the drag and drop website builders is cost. The fact is that these services are really cheap. That's why people go for them in the first place. If you're just designing your first website or starting your first company, or if you're a starving artist, for example, doesn't have a lot of money to drop but has a lot of content to produce, then these are probably going to be the solutions that you want to try. But one thing to consider is what you aren't spending in money, you're spending in time. A lot of these drag and drop builders will say that you can design a website in 24 hours, which is technically true. Absolutely, you can put together a website in 24 hours. It will probably be one of their templates though. Usually they have around about 500 templates, these services, which isn't very many. But if you're looking to have a very unique website, that's going to be taking you a lot more time because you need to differentiate yourself from these templates. In fact, for a really nice website, you're going to be spending a lot of time on it. So that is something to consider. The next thing to consider is appearance. As I said before, with the templates, they usually have around 500 templates. And while a service like Wix has 90 million users, which means around about 180,000 of those websites are going to look very, very similar. Or whereas the more popular templates are going to have a lot more users. So the most attractive templates you can see, there's going to be loads of them across the internet. Again, this is fine if you're okay with your website looking slightly like a lot of other people's websites, not if you want a completely custom branded experience that's your own. The next thing to consider is performance. A lot of these websites perform fairly well. They do take a lot of consideration into speed, not nearly as much as a web designer does, because when you hire a professional web designer, he's going to be spending hours, if not days, trying to make your website as light and fast and user-friendly as possible, because we know that that's what ranks very, very highly in search engine optimization. Whereas Wix and Squarespace and GoDaddy, because they're supposed to be used by everybody, will have bits of code that you might not need on your website, but it's going to be dragging you down. Another thing to consider is it's going to be on a shared server. That means you're going to be sharing your website space with a lot of other websites, and that itself can bring your performance down. The next thing to consider is search engine optimization. Search engine optimization is the practice of trying to gear up your website to be as discoverable as possible on websites like Google and Bing and DuckDuckGo and things like that. Web designers take a lot of steps in making sure that your website is as SEO friendly as possible. And a lot of those steps you can still do with Wix and Squarespace. They are there and they're options. They won't tell you what to do and where to input those kind of commands, but they are there. And they're not nearly as many as a professional web designer will have in his toolkit. So with search engine optimization, it's if you care a little bit about SEO, go for Wix and Squarespace. If you care a lot about being discovered, then you need to get a professional web designer. The next thing is support. Wix and Squarespace and drag and drop website builders don't really care about how your website looks. If you're having problems with spacing or you don't like the look of it, they're not going to give you any support. They will give you a lot of support for technical difficulties. If your website's down and not working, they'll probably give you a hand with that. But in terms of moving things around, or should I have this over here, or why is there not enough white space on my website, or that my website just doesn't look good enough, then they're not going to be there for you. The support isn't going to be there. But if you're willing to go out and learn about making websites and look at guides and look at design issues, then it might still be something for you. The last thing to consider is customization. these websites aren't very customizable. Really, all the customization you can do is within the template that they've given you, which isn't a lot. They have a lot of modules in terms of calendars or contact forms, and maybe that's all you need for your website. But for a more custom job, you'll still need to consider a web designer. So that's everything I have to say on Wix and Squarespace. Again, they might be for you. A lot of people do find a lot of enjoyment going to Wix, Squarespace, GoDaddy, and all these other website drop and drag builders. But if you're looking for a more custom job that's much more geared for speed and performance and usability, then I recommend looking for a professional web designer. Thanks. My name is Matthew with Jolly Good Media. If you want to reach me, get to matt@jollygoodmedia.com or visit us online at jollygoodmedia.com. Thank you.